those are the events I've got coming up. We'll jump into our program here. We're happy to have a presenter here that used to be an in-person member of SCARC and is now a remote member of SCARC, and that's Greg Shaw, N0GES. I've probably known Greg for 15 years. He went to school here, was an active member of the club, led our field day affair back in, what was that, 2013, I think, and then moved away to go work a real job, and stays in touch with us, visits from time to time. Greg's got a lot of interests and likes to share a lot about radio with scouting organizations, getting outdoors, and really focused on emergency preparedness as well in a lot of the ways specific to communications. And that's really, I think, in a big way where tonight's topic factors in. You might be familiar with the mode FT8 and some of the restrictions that are there as far as being able to actually get messages there. Greg's going to talk about basically a tool that can adapt that for more robust communications. So with that, we'll turn the meeting over here to Greg.
All right, welcome. Thanks for having me. Go ahead and share my screen.
And I'll quickly dim the lights here so that folks can see the screen just a little bit better.
All right, is that working?
Yep, looks great, Greg.
Okay, so I'm just gonna going over JS8Call. I have some download links. The official version came out in the end of 2019, and it's a pretty good version. There are some things that I'd love to have some development on, but there's been pretty much no development since December of 2019. There's very few bugs in the program, but one of the bad things is that radios have come out since the official release of JS8Call. So there was a ham who's recompiled the open source code and included the newest version of hamlib. So they call it the development version, and it will support the ICOM 706, I think the FTDX10, and some of the newer radios that are out there. So, and then it also has kind of a more advanced feature. There was a bug with the frequency scheduling aspect of the software. It's really only for advanced use, but it was nice that it's fixed in the development version. So I'm personally running development version. There's almost no difference. The graphics are maybe a little bit more muted, not so bright, kind of more like grays instead of the fancier colors. But other than that, there's almost no difference. So all the demos I'm going to be doing are with the development version. It's kind of hard to get a hold of the development version, so I just have it in my Google Drive so that I always have it. So the link on this page is to my Google Drive, so I don't plan on moving it anytime soon, but if you want, go ahead and download a copy. So if you're familiar with FT8, it runs on a 15-second timed interval. At the top here, this is the FT8 protocol. And JS8 uses the same protocol. JS8 has 4 different speeds: slow, normal, fast, and turbo. Normal JS8 mode is just the standard FT8 15-second timed interval, but they've added the ability to go a little bit slower, less words per minute, a little bit narrower bandwidth, but it kind of cuts through. Most people run the normal, the 15-second intervals. It works pretty well. And if you really want to, you can run fast or turbo. Very few people run that. I mean, if you had a lot of text to send, you could do that. But that's just kind of the normal. So with like the WSJTX software, time clock on your computer is really important. And a lot of people use Dimension 4, which just calibrates to NTP. But it's not the greatest for being, out in the middle of nowhere. So I just typed down some options. When I first started doing this, I actually didn't use, I was out portable, so I would actually tune to WWV and listen to that, and I would manually calibrate my PC's clock. So that's how I got started. As long as you're within about a second, you won't miss any frames. 2 seconds is the theoretical max that your time could be off and still get some decodes. But if other people have a little bit of calibration error as well, you start stacking tolerances to the point where, if you're more than about a second out, you're probably going to start missing some stations. So, and you can easily get to within 1 second just by listening to WWV and manually calibrating. But so manual calibration is one possibility. It's free. NTP time sync. Dimension 4 was really popular. There's one I like right now called BKT time sync. And I like it because you can do NTP time sync, but you could also use GPS time sync. GPS is what I'm using right now. This is a screenshot on the right of my settings, what I'm running right now. So I'm actually have my NTP disabled, and I'm running just straight on GPS right now. And I have no problem. And then I threw in the fun one. You could host your own frequency standard if you wanted to. One notable mention is about the radios required. Used to have to get $600 to $1,000 sideband HF radio to do this. Now you can build your own. QRP Labs, I've got 2 of these. They're amazing. Really low current draw. They are a little bit finicky, but this is a good avenue to go through. And you can build one. I build them in about 3 hours while listening to a podcast and just kind of relaxing after work. So they're not too bad. The worst part is winding all the toroids. If you've done other digital modes, FT8 is probably the most popular right now. This it's called PSK Reporter. This started back when PSK 31 was the hot mode, and now that's pretty much all been abandoned. But JS8Call is going to pop up on PSK Reporter, so it's kind of fun to hop on there and see who can hear you. I took this screenshot maybe an hour and a half ago, and I had filtered just so that it would show me like the last 2 hours of stations that had received me. And then this is, again, the same screenshot. I just zoomed into the US. So you can see pretty much covering the whole US. Blue is 40 meters. Looks like one guy in the yellow, mistakenly, he must have his frequency not set right because he's reporting that I'm on 20, but I'm not. 40 by far is the most popular frequency for JS8Call. And most people sit and park on this the 40 meter frequency 24/7. And I run near 24/7 at my home for the end of this year will be, I believe, 4 years. Yeah, so I just passed 3 years of 24/7. Aside from I would pop off occasionally for like nets and stuff, but other than that, the radio stays on, so I can receive messages while I'm at work and stuff. 40 meters, you can pretty much cover the U.S. At one time, years ago, people were kind of playing around with changing different bands, like going to 80 at night and that kind of stuff, but there really wasn't enough. The juice just wasn't worth the squeeze, so everybody's on 40 now. When you open the software, this is a screenshot of the software. Down at the bottom, boxed in red, that's just your standard waterfall. You can see there's a signal coming in around 800 on the waterfall. On the right, or excuse me, on the left, you got your the green box that I've highlighted. That's just kind of a bulk decode of everything that's showing up in the waterfall. Don't really have to pay that too much attention unless there's maybe something like you're listening for a really specific message, or maybe you're doing some testing. But other than that, it's just kind of a bulk decode of everything coming through. On the right hand of the screen, highlighted in yellow, the software is going to listen to all the stations it hears. It's just going to start compiling a record of all its call signs. And you can it's kind of like Excel where you can sort this how you want. I prefer to sort by age. So the stations that I've heard most recently stay at the top of my list, and then it just kind of filters down. You could sort alphabetically if you're maybe looking for a specific call sign or something like that. Right in the center of the screen in the manila, that's more directed messages towards you, not necessarily, but it's the things that fall within the decode slice, or the slice that you're going to be transmitting on. Direct messages that come through will come through in that manila area. They won't always be necessarily directed at you. If, for example, someone else is transmitting in that exact same slot, you'll decode their conversation. So I suppose if you wanted to kind of listen in on somebody, you could click their signal in the waterfall, and their transmissions would start popping through in the manila area. And then highlighted in magenta right in the middle of the screen, that's just where we're going to be typing messages, our actual text. And this is just a screenshot, but once we move, I'll be doing it live through the software. So we're allowed to run, there's the automated digital controlled subbands, I believe they call them, or something. It's where all the WinLink wide data modes are going to happen. So there's actually, if you look at section B here, this is actually where the frequency allotments where wideband data is allowed to be done automatically. So this is a much narrower mode. So we're actually going to fall under the part C. So if you leave your station running, it's allowed to automatically reply to someone else. So I can leave my station running. Someone else can send me a query, ask me a question, my station a question, and my station can automatically reply back to them. And so that's the part we're going to be running under. I'll show this live here in a second, but when you right click on a call sign, the list of stations that you can hear, you're going to get some options. And these are some of the messages you can send. Highlighted in green are just kind of like one-way messages. You're sending them a signal report, or you're sending them your grid number, but they're not going to send anything back automatically. The stuff in red, these are kind of your critical ones. These are the ones where you can send, what is my signal report? You can send that, and the station that you've selected will automatically reply back with a signal report. You can ask, there's information you can save in your software, like station information, radio, all that kind of stuff. Those aren't used too much, but the key ones down here are message. So you can send a message in the station to another station, and that station will save it. You can also select stations to relay off of, and that's more of an advanced feature, but there's ways to kind of figure out who can hear who, and then you can select a station to relay your message, and it'll happen automatically. So the station who's doing the relaying, for example, if I wanted to talk to you guys right now in Ames, and I'm in Southeast Iowa and we can't reach each other, I could select a station in Florida. And his station would grab the message and then automatically reply it and send it back to you guys. So there's ways that you can bounce messages off other people, and because it has the strength of the FT8, transmit cycle, you can really get messages through almost no matter what. And so that's kind of where this becomes more of it's not so much of a conversational mode where you're going to go have a QSO. It's more of a networking thing where there are stations online all the time, and you're just kind of keeping a network alive, and you're sending messages and receiving them at different times. So I receive a message, my station receives a message while I'm at work. I come home, I see there's a message, I open it up, I say, oh, okay, and then I can check, see if that person's online, and then I can send a reply back to them if I can, if I have good propagation to them. So, like Paul said, I like doing a lot of portable stuff. I always have. So this is at Geode State Park. My kids were playing on the playground, and so I brought the radio to play with. It's evolved over the years, but I'm very fond of my 705. I'm currently using a Microsoft Surface for most of it, just because I like it. but it is a higher power consumption versus some of the other options I'm showing you. When I first started, I was using a USB cable to obviously connect the radio to the computer. I've typically always run dipoles, but because this is kind of a lighter kit that I want, I decided to start experimenting with end feds, and they immediately started causing all sorts of trouble with my USB cables and whatnot. So I had a ton of ferrite chokes on this cable, and it worked as long as I didn't crank the power up to 10 watts. You can kind of see the end fed slinging off into the distance. This was just kind of like the first version I had of running portable with this. And then this is kind of where I'm at right now. Not much difference. This is at my in-laws' house. So one nice feature about the 705 is it has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. So it'll create a Wi-Fi hotspot, and you can actually just connect to it with your laptop. And then you can actually, instead of just using a cable, you just do it all over IP. So nice thing now is the only cords I need are the antenna, the BNC connector, and in this case, I got 12-volt power hooked up to the radio. This was my way of not having to deal with the RFI issues that the end fed was causing. I have no issues when I do it this way. And then this is actually, this was my first version of running on a Raspberry Pi. So unfortunately, the Raspberry Pi is not able to do the Wi-Fi, so I had to use the USB connector to the radio. So in the middle, right in the center, I've got a USB power bank powering the Raspberry Pi. That's a Raspberry Pi 02W. And so the Raspberry Pi has wireless, so I create a little Wi-Fi hotspot, and then I VNC into it with my phone. So that's my iPhone sitting there that I'm running JS8Call on, and it is absolutely tiny, and it's not fun to do. But it weighs almost nothing. So this is kind of a backup that I keep inside my kit. Typically run with the Surface, but if I had to, this is kind of the bare bones. And then this is just a zoomed in version. And if you look at your cell phone, I mean, imagine trying to run JS8Call on there. It's not fun. You can zoom in and out with the VNC viewer. So it's doable, but this is like the bare bones thing. And I have the software running right now, but I'm going to stop to take a little break before I move on to see if anybody has any questions.
Questions here in the room or online? Looks like we got one here. Let me pass you a microphone.
Hey, hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
He can hear you.
I don't know what we're talking about. I don't know what the abbreviations mean. I don't know what we're trying to do.
Okay. Have you done like FL Digi or any of those digital modes before?
I don't have any idea what you're talking about.
Okay. So,
I have a shortwave radio,
okay.
and I have a couple of licenses with it, but I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. Do you do voice over HF radio?
All I do is
Pick up a mic and
voice.
talk, or
Yeah, I can
Okay.
I can push the button on the mic.
Okay. So what this is doing is this is free software. So instead of this software will output audio tones, just kind of like a whistling noise. And there's different ways to do it, but we'll connect the software, the audio output of the software into the bare bones version will be straight into the mic jack of your radio. So instead of transmitting your voice, you'll be hearing like modem tones going over the radio. And so we can do that to send kind of like two-way messages, instant messaging type stuff. And this is more of an instant messaging type program, not so much email, but email is possible over HF as well. Does that make sense?
Well, and why do I want to do this?
Okay. So text messaging is, I guess.
I do that on my phone.
Right. So this would be text. This would be, we're not text messaging to phones in this case. We're doing two-way chats back and forth. So instead of doing voice, we're going to be doing typing back and forth, keyboard to keyboard type things.
You would be doing this
The reason you do this
without any
is,
infrastructure or that
you
kind
know,
of thing.
JS8Call is equal to about 1600 watts of voice. So you do the math, it just, the power explodes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it could be with people that you know. It could be with other hams that you've never met and are now meeting. So it's a means of communicating much more efficiently with lower power to get messages across that you might not be able to by just speaking into your microphone.
Yeah, it's pretty typical.
Did we lose your mic, Greg? I think we lost Greg's audio.
I'm just going through my pictures there. I thought I had a picture in here somewhere. It's gone. With the PSK Reporter site, where you can visualize who's hearing you, I ran a couple days where I ran at 1 watt, and I was easily covering the whole US on 1 watt. So that's pretty powerful, considering sometimes it's hard to talk with 100 watts and reliably reach everywhere. JS8Call is using the FT8 protocol, so it's going to have the same power as FT8. Any other questions?
Either here in the room or online. Skip's got one. Let me bring you a mic here, Skip.
Hi, Greg. This is Skip AD0H. And now I'm not on digital. I'm on sideband, and on 2 meters, I'm on FM. I guess the digital that I'm on is CW on HF.
Mm-hmm.
And now to interpret the previous question, the messages that I might send if I got on digital might be signal report and location, and I would be trying to work all states. And I know that there are DXers that get on digital, and they have worked 100 countries with relatively low power when rigs like mine, with me at the mic or at the key, cannot get through. Is that a fair interpretation of the basics?
So I think I understand. So you're saying obviously CWs can easily make it through, or more easily make it through versus single sideband is what you're saying, right?
Yes, and then one more step. When my CW on HF is not getting through, then on digital, using the type of rigs and the very low power that you're talking about, that will also get through.
Correct. So nothing in life is guaranteed, but if you say your noise floor is 0 SNR, it depends on how good your ears are, how deep you can listen in below the noise level to try to hear somebody. This software will work down to, reliably works down to about minus 16 dB, which is pretty low below. I mean, that's extremely low below the noise floor. After lower than 16 dB, it'll still get some partial decodes all the way down to maybe like a minus 20 or 24, I believe. But it's so unreliable that at that point you're pretty much not going to be able to get a full message through. But minus 16 dB is extremely low. So it's just mind blowing when you start dealing with the capabilities of the software, how deep below the noise you can still pull out a signal. And this particular software is not going to be used for anybody who's interested in doing any type of contesting, any kind of, you might even not even get anybody a live QSO with this mode. This is more for monitoring, like if you had a group of people, like a family that you wanted to keep in contact with, that you want to be able to send a message to, even if you know they're not going to receive it immediately, you know, next time they check their station, maybe in the next, you know, at least once a day or so, they'll see a message. So it's a way of getting really small messages through. The messages take quite a while to send, which we can send one here in just a second. And you guys can kind of get a feel for how slow this is. But the night, even though it's extremely slow, it's as close to guaranteed as you can get.
Thanks, Greg. Any other questions here in the room or online? If you've got a question online, just use the raise your hand icon, and it'll alert us here on the screen.
So right now, before this meeting started, I'm gonna open up. You can't really see, but.
And I'll go back to a full view here for everybody's sake. So if you've got questions, stand by until after Greg's demonstration here. All right, go ahead.
Let's see. When I go like this, do you see like a little circle around my mouse?
Yeah, we do.
Okay. So that's about the best way I can use a pointer. So on the right-hand side here, this is a list of call signs. And I've heard quite a few stations. For example, if I go back, right down at the bottom of my list is 10 minutes ago. So all these stations above have been heard, you know, for example, this one, 5 minutes ago, 2 minutes ago. I actually zeroed out all my station lists before I started. And so this is just what's compiled as my stations listened as we've been on the air. If I scroll down to the bottom, it looks like 26 minutes ago was probably the last time or when I zeroed out my screen. So just for fun, I'm going to clear everything. So this is, I've got a blank screen. So this would be like me turning on the software for the first time, new location or whatever. And oh, look on the left side, it says UR +7. So we're starting to get, remember how I mentioned you can get kind of a bulk decode? Well, we're starting to see something here. UR +7 dB here, good signal. So someone's sending a message. If we clicked on this, my cursor moved in the window all the way down here. And so now I'm starting to get more message coming through. +7 dB here, good signals. So start with JS8Call yesterday. So I am new to, here's your 15-minute cycle or 15-second cycle. This as well, so you can see how slow the text goes through. The station is all the way down here at about, I guess, what is that, 551 hertz above where I have my carrier set on my radio. So you guys, this is actually kind of a good demo because you can see how slow all this is going to take. So even though we're getting a message through, I don't know who sent it. I started listening just after the guy sent his call sign at the beginning. So I don't know who was sending this. So one good way to start populating my list of stations on the right is I can send a heartbeat. And that's my station sending out a transmission just saying, hey, I'm here. And other stations who hear my station sending that heartbeat are automatically going to reply back saying, N0GES, you are, and they're going to give me a signal to noise report. And that's going to start populating my list. So if I go down here and I click down here and I click the heartbeat, it's queued up the message right here. And I'm starting my 15-second transmit cycle. So it just says N0GES and then the at heartbeat sign and then EN41, my grid. So once it sends that, then we're going to start listening for stations coming back. I'll turn my volume. So it looks like I only got 3, but so because this is a 15-second decode cycle, it's decoding all stations heard within my entire audio passband. It's not on a set frequency like with FL Digi. You have to be centered on the station that you're talking to. In this case, you don't center on it. Everyone is kind of on their own. It's a random frequency that you select. There's not too much rhyme or reason to it. There's some nuances there, but just generally everything is just kind of wide open. So looks like I've had now 4 stations reply back. This guy heard me as a +19, which is really high. We got a -2, -1, and a +5. So not too bad. I don't know any of these stations, but here I've got a VE2DTG. Let's see. I don't know if he's even live at his station right now, but we can direct some messages at him. So I'm sending a message directly to him. I don't know. What do you guys want to ask him? See what he's got for station information, grid. What are the stations you are hearing? Top 4 ranked by most heard. You want to do that one?
Sure, why not?
Sure, why not? Okay, so here we go. So I don't have to, the radio hasn't keyed yet. It's waiting for its 15-second cycle. So we're sending right now. Sometimes if you send longer text or messages, it's going to break your text into multiple 15-second intervals. So the longer you type, the longer it's going to take to send your message.
Question here in the room, Greg, is where in the passband we're at, and I'm assuming it's the red,
yep, the red
marker that's there.
Yep. So in hindsight, he might have been a bad station to select because I'm hearing him as a -18, which is pretty close to the bottom. Let's see. How about this? So I'm not even though he may have received my station, I don't know that I'm going to get anything back from him. So I'm going to choose somebody else. KC1SJA looks pretty good. We'll do him. Same thing again. So the typical frequency for JS8Call on 40 meters is 7.078. And then of course we're going to be in upper sideband. So 1000 hertz is, 7.079, 2000 hertz on this waterfall will be 7.080, etc. Typically heartbeat area is reserved for 1000 and below. So I'm just stuck roughly in the middle. All right, so he's replying back to us. He is hearing AE0SC, WE4S something, SEL, W5ODJ, and KE4, wait for the decode cycle, KE4 Z Zulu Delta Juliet. That's a fun one. If I wanted to send someone a message, we'll use this guy for an example. I could leave him a message that will store in his inbox. And if you can keep an eye right here on the kind of like the middle right side of my screen where it says send, in parentheses it says 30 seconds right now. And as I type, so if I start typing, it's going to take 1.5 minutes, 2.5 minutes, 2:45, 3 minutes. So depending, the longer you type, the more 15-second intervals it's going to take. Hello. Whoops. Excellent. Hit enter. Ugh. Can't type while people watch.
Right.
EMO.
And when you're done typing, read it off. The screen is pretty small for us, Greg.
Okay. So I'm saying, I'm just sending a message. I'm saying, hello, I'm doing a radio demo for a club You have a good signal tonight. That's going to take 1 minute and 15 seconds to send on normal mode. If I decide to send it fast, which is kind of a wider mode, you see how my screen, my little transmit area just got a little wider. That's 50 seconds. And turbo will only take 30 seconds. So he reported hearing me as a plus 19, which is extremely strong. As we go wider with our transmit cycles, or as we go shorter transmit cycles, wider bandwidth, it kind of spreads our power out a little bit. So while he might have heard me as a plus 19 on normal mode turbo, he's probably going to still hear me as a maybe like a plus 4 or 6. So I think that's good enough, and we're gonna try this. I'm gonna copy this in case it doesn't go through, but we're gonna risk it, and we're gonna send it on turbo mode and see if we can make it through. Transmitting now. With turbo mode, we've shortened up. I think there are now 6-second transmit cycles instead of the 15. A little bit wider bandwidth. If his station receives my message incomplete with the checksum, it's going to reply back with just an ACK acknowledgement. If I see his station reply back automatically with an ACK, I know that he's received that message, and I know it's stored in his inbox. That's just confirmation. So I see a signal coming back. I just got an ACK. So we know for sure he's received that message, and I can move on to other things. If I don't see that ACK, then I can either resend it, or I could have tried a narrower bandwidth. For fun, now that I'm in turbo mode, I can ask him again what my signal to noise ratio is, and we'll get a reply back. Since we've widened a little bit, spread our power out, I imagine we're going to be a little bit less. I'm going to guess plus 6. Let's see. Plus 8, which is still fantastic. We could even, JS8Call doesn't provide any faster modes than turbo at the moment. But if he's hearing me as a plus 8, that indicates we could probably move on to VARA chat. You know, either 500 or 2300 would probably still work fine. A lot of groups will use this to keep track, just kind of do like initial alerting or paging type things before moving on to other modes for higher bandwidth traffic. For example, a lot of Aries groups use FLDigi, send wideband data. And now the kind of, and FLDigi is still used, but there are now other modes that are a little bit better. And VARA peer-to-peer or VARA chat is kind of the newer kid on the block. Any questions now that we've kind of gone over this part?
Questions here in the room? Chuck's got one. Let me walk the mic back to him.
Really screwed you.
That works too, but now you've got a mic.
What is the typical power level run by a base station that sits on this 24/7?
Probably about 20 watts. But a lot of people are on 20 watts. Some people do less. For example, I mean, there's lots of people that do 4 or 5 watts. You really don't need too much juice to get through, especially since we're on 40 meters. A lot of people are running NVIS antennas, so you're already doing it. You know, as long as the other stations online are also running NVIS antennas, you're going to cover a region pretty well.
Pat had a question online. Go ahead, Pat.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. So the unattended operation that you have at your home, if you receive a message, is there any service or any way to notify you, like your cell phone, send you a text message or something to let you know that your box at home has now received a message and you've got something waiting for you?
So the short answer is no. The software doesn't have that. However, the software does have an API integration. and there are a lot of people who are creating apps that interface with it with JS8Call. I use one that I didn't do the coding, but I've helped do a lot of the testing on it. It's called JS8 Spotter, and I have it running right now. What this allows you to, this is kind of maybe a little bit more than what I was planning on covering tonight, but this allows you to aggregate and sort call signs a lot easier, and it has some interesting features. One thing is a lot of people have questions on where exactly to park on the waterfall. And what's nice is that this software, as long as it's running, it's collecting signal noise ratio reports and logging all of the stations that it can possibly hear. And this is just kind of a basic tool that allows you to kind of visualize where people are parked on the waterfall. And so then you can kind of maybe choose a spot that looks a little bit less occupied to park on. One trick I have is that I typically don't park on an even frequency like 4100 or 4150. I usually go to something like right in the middle. So like, 4025 or 4030 or something like that. It just ends up kind of spreading people out. There's a little bit less congestion. Some things you can also do, which I won't cover tonight, but just mentioning it, is you can send one-way emails. You can spot yourself for, I believe, POTA. So here's the POTA. I haven't used this, but you could fill in your park frequency and you could hit send, and this will go over the APRS network. You can send one-way emails, and there used to be a way to send one-way SMS messages, and I won't get into the reasons, but that got shut down because of some major abuse by the ham community, which is just appalling. But that got shut down. There's a new one that came out about a couple months ago, and I expect it to be integrated back into JS8 Spotter pretty soon. But if I want to send an email, I could just send so I'm typing greg.n0ges@gmail.com, test MSG. This is actually the text right here is what's actually going to be sent over the radio. I'm just going to hit send. Radio is starting to send already right now. And what's nice about this software is that every station by default is part of the APRS network. So if at least one station, which there's many out there, but if only one station hears this message, it's going to make it into the APRS network, which is really handy. You can opt out, but there's really no reason you would want to opt out. But if you're worried about privacy or something, I suppose you could. So I'm going to let you know in a couple seconds when my phone goes ding. Looks like it already did. And here it is. Can't see it, but on my phone, I just got an email from myself saying test MSG. The person on the phone can't reply back. It's just a one-way email. If you wanted to do two-way email, you could use WinLink or something like that. I don't have too much else to cover. There's tons of advanced features, but there's nothing that I don't think that would be a good thing for us to get into tonight.
Got a question here from Clint.
Thanks, Greg. I'm curious, could we specify JS8Call as a mode for the Iowa QSO party? Because obviously we could type in our exchange in here for the that contest, and it would qualify where like FT8 would not allow us to do that because it's so structured. So is this a viable option for contesting where you're doing quick messages like that?
Yeah, it's definitely technically capable. This is basically no different than FLDigi. So you can do total free text. The only issue you're going to run into is there's probably not many other people to make live QSOs with. I've tried using this before for like winter field day and haven't been too successful with it, just because most people running this software are just part of an keeping alive network type thing for sending asynchronous messaging. So yeah, technically capable, probably not gonna have too much success though. Probably better.
So
maybe like a RIDI or something that has more of a contest following, but there's nothing holding that back. It's just not enough users with that AIM intent.
So is it correct to categorize a lot of the users of this for people that are sort of prepared for a grid down situation where they still want to communicate, even though traditional internet and phones are down?
Yeah, I suppose so. One thing I have, so my mom is a technician and she lives right on the edge of Arizona and Utah. So as a technician, she can only use 10 meters. But this is an advanced feature, but one thing I do have is that every day from 20 UTC to 2030 UTC, my station automatically band changes to 10 meters and listens for half an hour, and before it automatically switches back to 40 meters. So that's our agreed upon time. She's got a half an hour each day to catch me if she wants to send me a message. So that's one way of keeping connected with a family. I'm going to go ahead and clear this out so that there's nothing sitting here. There's a @all call group. When you use the @all, when you have the little @ sign, that's the beginning of a group call. And groups can all be made ad hoc. So for example, if I right click here and I click add new station or group, I can add SC, capitalize SCARC. So I've now added a group called SARC. And if any of you guys, you can all go ahead and add this if you wanted to on your own station. There's no like set server or anything you have to connect to. It's all can be done by the user. I can right click on SARC and I could direct a message to you guys and say, what is my signal noise report? Anybody who has that group on their list will reply back. Or I could send a message, and by sending a message to a group, anybody who has that group call sign is going to automatically receive the message. So since you guys are all fairly close to each other, there's probably better modes to use. But if you guys are more spread out, you guys could use the SARC address to say, like for example, Clint, I know you use that cool messaging. It's kind of like a voice recording to send out saying that there's a set, and it goes out to all the club members. If everybody was, for example, running this software on 24/7, you could send out a message to the SARC group saying, hey, we have a set, or maybe we have a real life emergency and we need to activate. And I can't activate you guys via phone or email or normal means because obviously we have an emergency, communication emergency. So this is a way for groups to keep in touch or activate. It's because it's so slow, it's not preferred for bulk data for, like template, reports and that kind of stuff, ICS 213s. That's better handled with other modes if possible. But this is better for alerting, organization, and that kind of thing. Coordinating frequency changes or mode changes to other things. Anything else? Any other questions? I know I talk really fast.
Any other questions for Greg at all, either online or in the group? All right, we got one more question here. Go ahead, class.
So rack chewing or calling CQ on JS8Call is not a thing anymore, like it was at the very, very early stages.
Yeah, there's not very many people. We could call CQ right now just for fun, but so we're gonna call CQ right now. There's not many people that are live on the keyboard. Most all stations are unattended, running automatically. There's, like for example, there's people, I see traffic. People have created a group just ad hoc. It's called JS8 Chess, and there are people who play chess with each other by sending the moves one by one in messages. So I can't imagine how long it would take to play a game of chess that way, but that is a sub hobby of JS8Call.
Got a question from Skip here.
Greg, if your station is unattended, but on 24/7, does that mean it's on receive only, or can a message be sent while you're not present? And if it does the latter, how do you cover the requirement for a control operator on the premises?
Right. So so to answer the second one first, no, it can't send a message originated from your station, because that would require, it's just not built into the software. And also it wouldn't be legal like you're bringing up. So your station is allowed, if I go back, your station is allowed to respond to another station. Okay, so see, except for channels specified in blah, 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 which we're not in, a station may be automatically controlled while transmitting radio or data mission on any other frequency authorized for such mission types, provided that, 1, a station is responding to interrogation by a station under local control or remote control, and number 2, no transmission from the automatically controlled station occupies bandwidth of more than 500 hertz. We are much less than 500 hertz, so we got number 2, no problem. Number 1, station is responding to interrogation by a station under local control. What that means is that your station is allowed to reply to another station, but that other station is the originating station. There has to be a control operator present there. So my station can't just automatically be spewing stuff out into the air, but it can respond if a question is directed at it. Is that adequate? Did I cover that?
Well, if you're responding, you can.
Let me bring this back.
Let's see if I can.
And it may be just a legal point. If you're responding, you're putting out a signal and you're still not on the premises.
But it's it's in response to an interrogation from another station, which is allowed by Part 97.
Okay.
The other station must be under local or
Yes.
not remote control. So the other station, in this case, the one who's causing the interrogation of you, there
It's under
has to be
local
some
control.
So
Okay.
there has to be a human being that initiates the interaction.
Okay, so the whole situation has been vetted by fairly high authorities.
97-221 says you're good to go.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we're up at the top of the hour here, so we'll go ahead and wrap the Q&A for now, and thank Greg for an engaging participation or presentation here.
Thanks for having me.
I'll get my words out yet. Thanks, Greg.